Welcome everybody. My name is Anikó Kristóf and I like to introduce the research that we have conducted with my partner Adam Kuttner. In our presentation, we would like to talk about how the digital transformation changed visitor participation and their museum experience. Traditional museum communication focused on the knowledge transfer mostly by text-based information. The sharing of museum experience by visitors was also done primarily by text and took place in a narrower social settings. The digital transformation changed the habits of the museum visitors. Museums are supposed to address this change and turn it to their benefit. Because of this, they made visiting museums and predominantly social events through the ritual of taking, sharing and presenting photos on different social media platforms. These photos then contribute to our culture as they shape and maintain a common cultural narrative through exchanging values and stories. Our research questions that follows. What kind of visual narratives are created by the visitors in different museums? What kind of visual elements are present on the pictures? And how are, if at all, these are tied to the museums of themselves? Why did we choose Instagram instead of other social media platforms? We wanted to pick something where it's easy to find museums and the pictures taken there. Instagram is a completely image-based platform, which is why it is perfect to be subject of visual communication research. Instagram is also the biggest image-sharing platform for users to publish photos taken instantly with or without editing. With crawler software, we downloaded 5,000 pictures from Instagram, which the users created and uploaded in the social media platform in the top 10 most visited museums. Photos from different museums were grabbed using geolocation filtering. We have downloaded 500 images per museum to our database. We analyzed these images and categorized three main groups. On the chart, you can see the distribution of these images. We ignored more than 500 pictures because these were not connected to the museums. For example, it contains ads or just a photo of the lunch of the visitors in the museums. From this corpus, we selected 19 images for deep analysis that we made with the codebook. The codebook contains 20 analyzed criteria which helps us better understand the visual narrative of the visitors and their connection to museums. Just show some photos from our selections. During the research, we saw how many different ways visitors can connect it to the museums or the artifacts. Visitors most likely to take photos indoors with various artifacts. The exterior or interior of a museum appears less frequently than the artifacts. There are usually an iconic or recognizable parts of the museum that appears on the photos, that are recognizable to everyone, such as the glass pyramid of the Louvre. In our research, we also tried to differentiate the genre of the photo. The results show that users mostly try to take portrait photos, most of them with some kind of artwork in the images. Snapshots, selfies, or artifact photos were also common, but the creation or artistic images were also significant. Although on most of the photo people appear mainly in focus, it usually happens in conjunction with an artifact. The results show that users somehow always try to portray themselves in the photos with an artifact, be it a selfie, portrait, or an artist photo. They try to put themselves and an artifact in the focus of the image. Overall, we have 4 categories. Most of the images we examined were stage amateur images. This was followed by a spontaneous amateur category and the images which was based on the media where a spectacle is created by copying well-known choreographies. Professional photos have appeared in negligible quantities. The results show that the vast majority of people like to set up preconceived and choreographed situations when taking these photos. This also shows that they are consciously related to the artifacts that appear in the photo. In the research, we also tried to observe the depiction of the people to know who are the ones who like to connect the museums and most in social media. Based on the results, it is mostly young adult women who have posted these photos. Their face and the shape of the whole body are visible mostly. The main part of our research is when we examine the relationship between people and artifacts. The results show that when a man and an artifact appeared in the image at the same time, people try to display a deliberate relationship between themselves and the artifact. Although the artwork was also often in focus in the photo, it often served as a kind of accessory for a situation. The point was mostly to highlight people with the help of objects. They usually reacted with some posture or movement, possibly with mimic expression or related to the artifact, thereby often creating separate situations with the artifact. Our other central question was how often people copied the artifacts or reacted to them in some way. I would like to give a few examples. It was a common example of users comparing themselves to an artifact, how similar they are to a particular picture or an artifact. But it was also a very common example when visitors copied an artwork and as they themselves became that artwork. We can even see an example of them putting themselves into an artwork in some way. For example, they put their own faces on the statues. One of my personal favorite examples is when people put themselves in a situation with a work of art. There were a number of images that many people wore masks because of the COVID situation, but human creativity is characterized by the fact that this was often being used in photos in a variety of situations and displays, such as the man in the picture. There were many photos where visitors somehow reacted to what they saw on the artifacts. They reacted to what happened in the painting or pretend that what happened in the painting was for them. And in many cases, they somehow put themselves in the situation of different paintings. In many cases, they also tried to create artistic images themselves, taking advantage of the museum facilities or the details of an artwork. In doing so, they not only connected to the artifact, but sought to create something new with their own artistic expression. Many things can be deduced from our research. An example is the fact that Instagram as a social network site redefines relationship between exhibitions and museum goers, and why social media, especially a visual-based social media platform, gives people the opportunity to redefine the museums in their own way and experience museum visits in their own way. This can be especially important among the younger age group. For them, these platforms are everyday tools that are important parts and tools of their lives. This also allows them to connect more easily to the museum experience. This allows them to relive and interpret them at any time. And research also revealed that most people like some way to visually connect to the Museum of Arts. They are looking for a connection or how they became a part of it. For example, if these platforms, such as Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, give them the opportunity to connect their own creativity to what they see in the museum, it can not only encourage them to develop their own creativity, but also make the visits memorable for them. And museums may have a strong interest in encouraging these activities, because these users make much more visual material than the museum itself. The museums can use it, or somehow they can turn this to their own advantage in terms of promotions, especially for the younger age group. Social media brands define the frame, the look of a museum, so it's time for museums to actively pay attention not only to what they post on the various online platforms, but what visitors post about them. Thank you for your attention. If anyone has any question about our research, please feel free to contact us.